Welcome. This video is going to focus on modeling your watch design that you've been developing within the project. Hopefully you've become familiar with Fusion 360, undertaking the introductory videos, so you're aware of the workspace and how to model utilizing 2D sketches and then applying 3D commands. Do not simply model the design that's shown on screen at the moment, yet adapt the techniques and tools that I'm utilizing to develop your own creative watch design. So we'll be able to see down in the feature tree how I've gone through and modeled this. And that's creating one sketch and then a number of extrudes and then also one decal. So that's that graphic, and we'll look at developing that later. And what we can do is drag this all the way back to the start and play it so we can see how it's gone through and been developed. And then going all the way back to the end. So we can see all our sketching is on one, and that's the best practice. And then we're applying 3D commands to those shapes that are created in that 2D sketch. We'll get started shortly, but I'll try and work quite quickly. So I suggest sort of undertaking it as the steps or the tools that are utilized. And also noticed it is timestamped in the video description, so it should be in chapters. Now let's quickly have a look at our original sketch, because I'm going to be doing these, dimensions and shapes shortly, and so just giving a bit of context what they're associated with. So zooming in, this is our watch design. So that's the case. This is the clock face. We can see we've got the indicators where the hours will be, the minute hands, hour hand down the bottom, and there's some more detail here. Finishing that sketch, just going back to our original view. And so let's get underway. Essentially, I'm going to remodel this, and so I'm going to go a new design. Once you've set up, you're already going to have a design. And so getting started, we know we're creating it from a 2D sketch, so create sketch. And now Fusion's asking what plane do we want to draw it upon? And so I've drawn upon the ground plane, and then we're just extruding up. So do the same, that will be the XY plane, so the ground plane. And now notice our view has gone to that, looking at from directly above. Now we're going to draw the watch shapes, or what they refer to as profiles. I'm going to begin with the watch case, and notice that I start at the origin of 0, 0. So I'm going to go center diameter. I'm going to start from 0, 0 and then drag it out to 40 mil as it's going to be. If your watch is going to be some other shape, so rectangular, obviously you're looking at the rectangular tools. So zooming in, the 1 mil, and I can always go through and move the positioning of these dimensions, or if I've accidentally need them to update, I can double click and then go through and change them. So 1 mil is going to be the clock stem, 2 mil is going to be associated with the minute or the hour hand. I haven't decided just as yet. 3 mil for that as well, so that's more so the clock mechanism. Then zooming out, the clock face is going to be 36, and then the clock outside casing is going to be 40. If you accidentally click finish sketch, which I won't do at the moment, but if you accidentally do that, try and just go back to here, and then you'll be able to right click and you'll have edit sketch as a feature there. To keep all your sketching upon the one, or all your shapes and profiles upon the one sketch is best practice. Now we're going to continue on sketching the minute and the hour hand. These are going to be 12 millimeters in length by 1 mil for the minute hands, and I'll put the hour hand down below. That's going to be 9 in length by 1, and I'll speed this process up once again to keep the video a bit shorter. And there we have it. So I've developed the minute hand up the top here, hour hand down the bottom. Also notice I've used construction lines. So they're the dotted lines that are shown here. And I've used them primarily to find the center point and the overall length, so I know where I'm going to be drawing. So construction lines cannot be modeled from. They're like guidelines in Photoshop and Illustrator. And so you're just clicking on construction at this point. Sometimes you might accidentally have it still selected, so you can be drawing and it's showing a construction line, you want to alter it, you're just going to click that again, and then that will make it back to a regular line. Finishing the sketch, I want these hands to be slightly rounded off, so what we're going to do is apply a fillet, and we might also apply a bit of a trim later as well to get rid of any excess lines that are no longer needed. So that can be completed by going to modify and then fillet. And another option really good is chamfer. So it doesn't necessarily round it off, but we can see the visual what's happening there. So a fillet I can apply there, and I can apply it to multiple points. And so we want that to be a max. It can only be a max of 5 because the diameter is 10. And then we'll apply it to the top here as well. And now we're going to have some excess lines that we want to get rid of. So going to modify and then trim. So trim's like the eraser tool, I guess. And so this hour hand's going to come in here, and we want it to use this ring component here. So we won't need that line there, nor that little segment or that segment, but we will need this one. Which I'll go through and draw shortly. So next step will be drawing the band at the top and the band at the bottom. So the band at the top will be 90 length by 20 wide. The band at the bottom will be 120 length and also 20 wide. Notice that I'll use the construction lines to find the center and for the corners once again. Along with this time, I'm going to be using the rectangle tool to go through and draw the band shape or profile. Now what we're going to do is draw the watch lugs. So I've researched this. These are the little connectors that connect the band to the watch face. And these are going to be 8mm in length by 2mm wide. Now those lugs are complete. Don't trim the lines between the case and the lug, because obviously the case we're going to want it to be thicker than that portion there. We should now be ready to finish our sketch and begin applying 3D features to the different shapes. We can also edit these sketches later if need be. So finish sketch, and best to apply it to probably that home screen. So now we're going to start modeling it. So we're going to be applying extrudes to the different faces, and it's best to begin with the smallest detail in the center and then work outwards. So we're going to focus first of all on that tiny little stem, that 1mm wide stem, and this brings up the extrude palette. It might have minimized like that, so you might need to expand it. So notice we can change a number of things within here. We can change the profiles, so I can be selecting one or a number of them, which I'll go through and do shortly with some of the other designs. We can say where it's starting from, so the profile plane being where it's drawn upon, an offset, which a number of them will do, and then also the object. So in this case, we're going to do I'll get to that. I think I'm going to go through and extrude it from an offset of about 1mm. Then it's going to go in a direction, so one direction, and then the distance, it be for this one 5 mil. And we can see that that's starting 1 mil from the base, and then it's going to be 5 mil high, and it's going to create it as a new body. Sometimes we're going to want to join it, and other options are cutting, and then also intersecting a new body. So summarizing the bodies, notice I've gone through and termed it off. So with the stem, I've gone through and made that, so I can either select it there, and I'm just going to change some of these because I might have made a bit of a mistake. So I'm going to right click and then go edit feature, and I actually want it to offset from 0.5, just because I think it was getting a little bit too crowded. And there was the next feature being the hour hands, and so that's set from the top body. So when I've extruded it, I've set it from the top body, and same thing, I think I've made that a bit too thick. So I'm going to go edit feature, and then I'm going to change that 0.5, that's okay, and then that should be all okay. And then the minute hands, which is 0.5 in thickness. It's offsetted to the object from the top of the corresponding hand. So the minute hands, or hour hands, sorry, in this case, and it's a new body. If we have them as joined, that means we wouldn't be able to change that. It will be the one solid color or material, or we couldn't have it so it actually spins around like a clock. Next up is the pane of glass that sits on top, and we should be able to see, yes, now we've got a bit more of a better view there. And so that is 7 mil offset from the ground because the total is 8 mil. And then it's 1 mil thick, which makes it up to that 8 mil, and it's also a new body. Then we have the clock face, which I had it as 1 mil from the base and 1 mil thick. And now we also have the case. So then it's all contained within the one, and that's 8 mil high from the ground plane. Material and applying that application brings across the material texture and also the color. So the appearance palette can be found under the modify, and then appearance, and generally it appears out here. Sometimes it'll be minimized like that, and therefore we can go through and apply materials to these different features. So we'll turn off our sketch briefly here. So now notice I've gone through and applied the materials. That's just under the appearance tab, and we can go through, it will showcase what materials have been applied in here. So concrete to the case, steel to, steel is just a generic one, glass to obviously the glass top, chrome to the little stem segment, enamels to the clock's hands. And notice I've gone through and changed these within the names there. So notice within the appearance, you've got a library. You can also download some from externally. Some of them you'll need to go through and download first, and then you'll be sort of able to drag and drop it into the model or into the browser bodies. Next, what we're going to go through and do is extrude those lugs, so the connectors to the watch. And I'll go through and speed this up once again, turning on my sketch and then applying that as an extrude. So going through, we've applied a extrude to the band, same thing, symmetrically set at an offset of 4 mil, so it's centered within our case. Now what we want to do is go back and edit our sketch, and what we're going to do is provide a circular pattern to set the numbers where they should be in terms of the hours. So indicate these as shapes or numbers and just make sure they're correctly positioned. So I'm going to go back to my original sketch and then go edit sketch, create circular pattern. Another feature you might want to do is a rectangular pattern. So they are really helpful if you're doing the holes along the band, but in this case, circular pattern. And then we're going to create a little circle. Let's position it about there and let's make it 2 mil. And so when we go create circular pattern, what's the object we want to rotate? Well, it's going to be that, or duplicate. And then where's the center point, which we've drawn it from our origin. So that's great there. And it's going to have 1, 2, 3 as its default. So we want that to be 12. And some of you might want to suppress some, so you can always go through and suppress them. And then we're going to go OK, and we're going to go finish sketch, so then we can create these on our watch design. And as new bodies, so we can assign a different color to them. Getting close to finishing. So now what we're going to do is attach a surface graphic to our watch face utilizing the design that I created in Illustrator. I will start to import it. So I'm just going to go to Insert, then Decal, and then I'm going to be able to find this watch design. And so now it's asking what face I want it to be drawn upon. So this I've just gone through and created in Illustrator. It's a document, it's 40 by 40, and I've just created it using the pen tool or the shape tool, and also the blend, which is this icon here. When exporting it, just go File, Export As, and export it as a PNG. So therefore, whatever it sees as white, it will then make it transparent. So then you'll be able to show the material through it. And that's why I've been able to go through and apply that there. Unfortunately, the scale's not quite right. I'm going to go OK. I should turn that glass back on. I think we're pretty much finished. The following video in the playlist will focus better on presenting your overall design in the rendering workspace.